Best point and shoot cameras on a smartphone today? Is it Pixel or iPhone? Let the battle begin. How's it, Grant here, and welcome to my camera comparison between the Pixel 5a and iPhone 12, arguably two of the best point and shoot smartphone camera systems on the market today. So they both use dual camera systems on the rear, all 12 megapixel sensors, one wide, one ultra wide. So I think this will be a very good comparison here. I think most people recognize Pixels as best for photo quality and iPhone's best for video quality. But I think Google has really stepped up their game as far as video image processing. And after looking at all the photos, I think the iPhone will really surprise at how close the photos are as well. And so like I always do, I'm going to show you a bunch of photos and videos in both good and low light conditions to help you decide which of these two camera systems might be best for you. Also, if you're new to the channel and you like this kind of content, you like smartphone camera comparisons, I tend to do a lot of them. And so if you enjoy this type of content, please consider subscribing. And with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and check out all the photos and videos. Everyone, so here's some 4K 30 frames per second video from the rear-facing cameras, starting with the ultra-wide angle lens on each here. As you can see, it's a pretty good looking day out here. We've been having some of those gray skies due to the wildfires up north. So I waited for a day where it's a little bit clearer. It's not super blue, but it's more of a muted powder blue right now. So if you're seeing really, really deep blues, that's not the case. It's more of a lightish, powderish blue right now. So I'm just panning around so you can get a feel for what the ultra-wide angle cameras look like on each. And the iPhone obviously has a wider field of view, meaning it can fit more in the frame than the Pixel. So let's go ahead and change into the main lenses now, which is nice because I don't have to stop the recording. I can just switch between the lenses while actively recording, which is a nice feature on both these phones. And so we'll go ahead and pan over here to the right and we'll test the zoom like I always do on that cell tower. So let's go into 2x digital there on the Pixel, and let's move into 2x digital on the iPhone. And we can move all the way up until a 3x digital on the iPhone, and we can move into, let's go to an equivalent 3x zoom here on the Pixel. I can get that right. And then I can go all the way to a max 5x digital zoom on the Pixel. So let's go ahead and back both of these out to 1x and test autofocus here on the post. So first with the Pixel, and that focused up pretty quickly there and refocused away. One more time, super fast focus here from the Pixel 5a. Pretty nice depth of field or blurred out background. And one more time. Let's try with the iPhone now. And still really snappy autofocus as you expect from the iPhone. So both doing really well here with speedy autofocus. Pretty decent depth of field, not the deepest or most bokeh there with the sensors, but still looking very nice. And let's go ahead and test stabilization here at 4K by walking on the stairs and through this pathway. So you can see how each of these do as far as stabilization at 4K. And I'll pull up here at the end of the path and pan up into the trees and up into that noon sunlight there. Everyone, so here's some front-facing video at 1080p 30 frames per second. That is the max resolution and frame rate on the Pixel 5a. The iPhone can shoot up to 4K 60 frames per second, but I want to keep everything even as far as resolution and frame rate. And obviously I'm outdoors. I like to start in the shade because it's even lighting, meaning that this should be showing you the best possible image reproduction without any kind of harsh light on these front-facing cameras. But I'll keep panning around here so you can see how the light conditions change and how that changes the image here. So now that the afternoon sun is behind me, you can see kind of blowing out the background a little bit, but not nearly as bad as other phones as far as what I can see in the viewfinder on both. The iPhone is kind of maintaining that balance a little bit better from what I can see. And we'll keep panning around so you can see how this constantly changes as the lighting changes. And I'll start walking to test stabilization as well to give you a feel for what that looks like here from both of these front-facing cameras. So there you go. I just want to give you a quick clip from the front-facing cameras on the Pixel 5a and the iPhone 12. Everyone, so here's some low light video at 4K 30 frames per second, starting out with the ultra wide angle lens on each here. So I'll just pan around to give you a feel for what these ultra wide angle lenses look like. And the iPhone obviously has the wider field of view, meaning you can fit more into the frame here. So again, this is the ultra wide angle lens on each at 4K 30 frames per second. And let's go ahead and switch over to the main lens now. And what's nice is that both of these you can actually switch over to the different lenses while still recording. You don't have to stop your recording. And you'll notice that the image kind of brightened up a little bit here with the main lens. It lets in more light. And at least in the viewfinder, the iPhone is kind of brightening things up a little bit more than the Pixel. You can see that with the tree line there. It wasn't as visible with the ultra wide, but now you can see it a little more visible on these main wide lenses and a little bit more so of definition against that skyline with the iPhone. At least again, what I'm seeing in that viewfinder. I'll pan over here to the right so you can see how both of these do into that really bright street light. And again, from what I'm seeing, the iPhone seems to be flaring that out just a little bit more here because it is brightening up everything just a bit more. So we'll pan this way and start walking to test stabilization, as well as to see how both of these phones handle more of that kind of lighting transition. And already I see the Pixel trying to brighten up things a lot and kind of giving it a purple kind of a hue, at least what I'm seeing in the viewfinder. These things can be possibly cleaned up once they process the video. I don't know, we'll have to see once it's done. But as we round the corner, you can see both of these are definitely adding a lot more brightness to the scene than what I'm seeing with my own naked eye here. So at least you can see more than just the darkness here. And I'll pull up here and pan up into the night sky so you can see what that looks like. And like I was mentioned, there is light pollution, so it's expected to get some noise, but both of these are definitely brightening up that sky. And it is a bit grayish because we're having some of these wildfires here in California, and it's kind of trickling down here. But we'll pan over here into this darker alleyway, a mixed lighting situation, so it's not completely dark, but you got some light to give a feel for what that kind of looks like here in low light in 4K 30 frames per second on each of these phones. Everyone, so here's some low light video from the front facing cameras. This is at 1080p 30 frames per second, which is the max resolution and frame rate on the Pixel. The iPhone can of course shoot up to 4K 60 frames per second from its front facing camera, but I want to keep everything even here. And I want to start out in this lighting situation like I always do, which is some optimal lighting to give you a feel for what these cameras can do in the best possible lighting scenario here. As you can see here to the left and to the right of me and in the back there, I've got some really bright lights, and you can see how both of these front facing cameras are doing there. As I can see in the viewfinder, the iPhone definitely has a much warmer tone to the white balance here, and the Pixel a much cooler tone. But let's go ahead and start walking to test stabilization, as well as so we can walk over to a little bit of a darker area so you can kind of see how these front-facing cameras handle a little bit of a different lighting situation, a little bit more difficult lighting situation. And of course, I'm going to be walking past this fountain like I always do. It'll give a good test of the microphones and seeing how well they do against the sound of that background noise there. And so I'll pull up here and I'll pan around so you can see the really bright street lights behind me and how they do into a little bit more intense lights there. And actually both of these front facing cameras are doing pretty well, not flaring them out too badly really. And again, let's go here into this darker lighting situation so you can see side by side how each of these front facing cameras are doing in this much more difficult lighting situation here. So do let me know what you thought about all the photos and videos that you saw from both the Pixel 5a 5G and the iPhone 12. Do you think the Pixel actually held its own, considering it's $450 up against the iPhone 12, which the mini starts at about, I think, $700, and the regular 12 is about $800 retail price? So let me know what you thought about all the photos and videos, which one you liked better and why. For portraits, for normal photos, videos, low light, good light, all that stuff. Leave a comment down below and we'll continue our conversation down there. Ask any questions as well and I'll try to answer what I can. And as always, thanks for watching.